Hi, this is Sweet June. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody had a blessed weekend. I had a blessed weekend. I want to talk about, I've been wanting to do this video for 3 weeks now. I'm just now getting to it. But I would, as you guys know, I'm done a lot of videos addressing the issue of single motherhood. Um, try to encourage young ladies to avoid um, I talk a lot about single motherhood because I spent many years being a single mother, and I know how challenging it is, and I know how hard it is, um, and I'm a big advocate for if you can prevent it. I know a lot of people are single mothers due to circumstances that they didn't have any control over, and that's perfectly understandable. Life happens, but my my thought is if you can prevent something from happening, if some things we can prevent from happening by taking certain precautions, um, and taking certain actions, and I think that if young ladies would um, certain things that young ladies can do to prevent from going down the road of being a single parent, because if you can prevent it, I say if you can prevent it, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are single mothers due to circumstances um, that they had no control over. And everybody's story is different, and that's understandable. Life happens. Life does happen. Life happens to all of us. But like I said, if you can prevent it, go ahead and prevent it. Sometimes we can do things to increase our chances of becoming single mothers. We all know that we can do things that increases our chances of becoming single mothers. So I'm a big advocate of if you can prevent it, try to prevent it at all costs. You know. So, because I spent many years being a single mother. So, it's very difficult, you know. And I just like to educate particularly young ladies. I'm talking about young ladies like teens, try to get to them, before they get to that point, just basically educating young ladies and letting them know that, hey, if you can prevent it, go ahead and prevent it at all costs. Best thing, I'm a big advocate for abstaining from sex until marriage. If you choose to have sex outside of marriage, the best thing to do is take all the precautions that you absolutely can take to prevent um, from becoming pregnant before you are financially ready and before you found a suitable mate. So I'm a big advocate for that. Now, this video I'm addressing mothers. I'm tailoring this video specifically to mothers that have 1 to 2 children. This video is specifically for those mothers, for those single mothers that have 1 to 2 children. Now, I'm not knocking, little disclaimer, I'm not judging anybody that has more than 2 children. Listen to me, there's a method to the madness. If you have over 2 kids, well, this message can be for you as well. But there's a method to my madness. But I'm going to specifically talk to the mothers that have 1 or 2 children. So this video, but hey, mothers that got more than that, you can listen and learn some things as well. But I'm specifically talking to the mothers that have 1 to 2 kids, because I have 2 children, Um, or if you have more than that, my main point is what I'm trying to make in this video is if you got 1 to 2 children, if you got 1 child, or if you have 2 kids, let's say if, circumstances, that you got into a couple of relationships that didn't work out, or you got into one relationship, it didn't work out and things didn't pan out, and you didn't marry the father to your child or fathers to your children, and then you find yourself being a single mother to one to two children. Like I said, as I said, life does happen, and sometimes things don't go the way we plan it. A lot of things in life don't go the way we plan. I've gotten to the point to where I just don't plan anymore. I just don't plan anymore. I just kind of take each day as it come and just pray. I pray and I just take each day as it come, and I don't really plan, because like every time I try to plan something, it doesn't work out. So life rarely goes the way we plan it. There's some things, that go according to plan, but mostly life is very, very unpredictable, and it doesn't always, it almost never goes according to plan. So we could plan a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to go down. You could, I had initially planned on getting married, like after I had my oldest son. I broke up with things didn't work out with his dad, and I broke up with his dad, and I said I wasn't going to have another child until I secured a marriage mate. Well, it didn't happen that way. You know, got myself involved with the wrong person in the wrong situation, and then I found myself pregnant with another child before I secured that marriage mate. So things don't that's the way things go in life sometimes. It's like I had planned on, and that's why there's 10 years between my two sons. That's because I had planned on being married the second time around. So when I found myself being pregnant again, I was like, wow, it blew my mind, because I did not plan on getting pregnant outside of marriage again. But when you're doing things to when you're putting yourself in a situation, you having sex outside of marriage, you increase your chances. Like I said, you're having sex outside of marriage, even if you use birth control, if that birth control does fails or whatever, there's always a possibility that you can have an unplanned pregnancy. You know, so the best thing to do if you're single, it's like I said, best thing to do is abstain. The best birth control is abstaining. Abstaining. If you abstain, then you don't have to worry about getting pregnant. So I highly recommend, and I wouldn't tell you to do something that I'm not doing. If I'm not practicing abstinence, there is no way I would come on here and say abstain if I'm not practicing it. I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not doing. That'd be just like me coming on here saying stop eating chocolate. Just using it as a parable. Now I ain't gonna stop eating no chocolate. I'll cut back on it and cut down, because I know it's not good for me to eat too much of it. But just to stop eating it altogether, no, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I'm gonna quit eating it altogether. So that'd be just like me coming on here saying, okay, well, don't eat chocolate anymore. And I'm steady still eating it. You know what I mean? So I'm just using that as a parable. I'm not never going to tell you to do something. I'm not going to never suggest that you do something that I'm not trying to practice myself. You know what I mean? So um, if I wasn't abstaining, there's no way I would come on here and encourage anybody else to do it if I'm not doing it. I'm going to practice what I preach. So they have a name for that, and that's called being a hypocrite. So ain't no hypocrites over here. So I've been abstaining for many, many, many years, and um, it's worked out for me pretty good. It's one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life. So I think it's one of the smartest decisions that I ever made in my life. Out of all the decisions that I made, uh, you know, uh, dedicating my life to Jehovah God and abstaining is the two best life decisions that I ever made in my life. So, and it's the decision that I do not regret, not even once. I don't have any regrets, because it has the best results, and it had the best outcome, and it's the smartest, wisest thing decision I have ever made in my life. So I tell you, nothing but good things can results can come from you abstaining. Is it difficult? Is it hard? Yes, I am not going to sit here and tell you it's easy. It is not easy. It is very, very difficult. Um, very difficult. But I will say this: it gets easier with time. You know, anything worth doing in life. I mean, anything worth doing is going to be difficult. Anything that's worthy of you doing is going to be difficult for you to do. It's not going to be easy. So it's something that is worth doing, but it's going to be very difficult. Anything worth doing is going to be hard. It's not. That's just life. It's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. And then when you do ask God, Jehovah God, to help you, and He will help you. He will help keep you. You know, He's helped me. I'm not going to take all the credit. He's helped me, But he's not going to help you unless you're willing to help yourself. And that's because he gives us a freedom will. He don't stand in the way of that. You got to make it up your mind. This is what you want to do. And you pray, ask God to help you. He will help you. He will help you. He really will. He's been helping me. He's been keeping me all these years. And so it's a beautiful thing. You can prevent sexually transmitted diseases. You can prevent having any unplanned pregnancies. It's a good thing. You could draw closer to God, have a closer relationship with God, because you really can't have a close relationship with God if you're out doing the very thing that He's completely against. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. I'm completely getting off track, and I'm sorry. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to specifically talk to um, single mothers with 1 to 2 children. Um, like I said, when I had my second son, like I said, I had planned on getting married, but had my second son. Um, so after I had my second son, I made the decision to tie my tubes, to get my tubes tied, because um, at that point, when people was telling me, well, you might get married, decide you want to have another one, and that was a good point, but at that point, I said, well, I got 2 baby daddies. I don't want baby daddy number 3, even if it is a marriage mate. I said, I messed up. I messed up and got 2 baby daddies. And my thought was I didn't want a baby daddy number 3, even if it was a husband, because I just didn't want it. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want 3 fathers. Just didn't want that. So I said, well, okay, well, I messed up and I had my 2 different dads. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I'm not having any more kids. I'm going to go ahead and get my tubes tied. At that particular time, I'm going to be honest. At that particular time, I was not ready to abstain. I was not ready to abstain at that particular time. So I thought that was the best decision for me. And so that was a factor there. And then another factor was, well, my thought was, okay, if I don't get my tubes tied and I mess around and wind up in this situation again, I have the tendency to being left holding the bag. So I don't want to my thought was I didn't want to put myself in a position to where I was going to wind up raising a child number 3 by myself, because I knew it was going to be a difficult road for me raising 2 alone, because I struggled raising 1 and I struggled raising 2. I mean, I knew that once I knew having number 2, it was going to be harder. It was going to be harder for me as a single mother. So I didn't want to put myself in a position to where I was going to be having baby number 3 and having to wind up raising the baby number 3 by myself. So that was another determining factor there. And then another determining factor was finances. I thought about my finances, that I was not in a position financially to bring forth another child under any circumstances. So those were the determining factors for me on my decision to tie my tubes after my second child, because I was like, well, I don't want baby daddy number 3. Um, and and rather was married, definitely single, and even not in the context of a marriage. And then I didn't want to put myself in a position to be left holding the bag, and raising a child number three by myself. And then I thought about my finances, that I was not in a financial position, that I knew I was going to struggle financially with the two. So when I looked like going out and getting pregnant with another one, no, I think, financially I wasn't making nowhere near six figures. So I didn't think financially I was going to be able to be in a position to support another child. So I went on ahead and like I said, people were saying, well, you might get married. I said, well, no, I said, I don't want another child. That's it. I just simply just did not want another child. Okay. Because I knew it was going to be hard for me to take care of two. Now, after I got broke up with my oldest son's dad, and had I found a nice man and gotten married, then I wouldn't have mind having two more kids. Then I wouldn't have mind having three. You know, but it didn't go down like that. I messed up, and it didn't go down like that. And because it didn't go out the way. It didn't go down the way I had initially planned, and because it didn't go down the way I initially planned, then okay, well, okay, when this plan doesn't work out, okay, now this plan doesn't work out and something happens where that plan didn't work out, okay, now you got to execute another plan. And so there was a situation with that. I'll say, okay, well, that plan didn't work out with me getting married. And then, because had I gotten married after my oldest son, then I wouldn't have mind having a couple of more kids. But then, things didn't work out that way, and I messed around and I got pregnant outside of marriage by the worst guy that I can imagine getting pregnant by. But I digress. So that's when I said, okay, well, plan A didn't work, so now I got to go on and make some different decisions here. And so when that didn't work out, I was like, okay, well, time to lock it up. Time for me to go on and lock it up. Well, I didn't lock it up, but I locked that down. To where I could not have any more get pregnant, where I wasn't going to be putting myself in a position to getting pregnant again. Now, further on down the road, that's when I took that extra step. I went on that and took that extra step and locked it up altogether and closed up shop altogether and said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and abstain. At first, it was like, well, I'll abstain until I find a nice guy. And then once I started, made my decision that I wanted to dedicate my life to God, I was like, okay, well, I'm going and then wait on to marriage. I'm going to go ahead and abstain until marriage. And so after that, I just locked it on down for good after that. Instead of locking on down. And so went on and took that extra step after that a few years later. And so those were my determining factors after having two children. Um, so I highly recommend, like, if you're a single mother and you've had one child, and let's say you're struggling with this one child, you're struggling with this one child. I mean, even if you have a marriage mate, if you guys are struggling, it's not it's not a good idea to bring forth another child. But I'm not really talking about married couples. I'm mainly targeting single women, single mothers. If you're a single mother of one child and you're already struggling with that one child, it is not best for you. First of all, I recommend that you abstain. If you don't choose to abstain and you don't want to abstain, then you need to take every precaution that you can absolutely take to prevent another pregnancy. Because if you haven't secured a marriage mate and you are not financially ready to bring forth another child, I would highly recommend to not to first of all abstain. If you don't want to abstain, then use every precaution necessary to prevent from getting another unplanned pregnancy. Because if you're struggling with one child, I guarantee you, if you have baby number two, you will struggle with baby number two. Mothers that have two children, if you had baby number one, you thought things were gonna work out with that dad, but it didn't. Um, and then you find yourself pregnant again with baby number two. Okay, but at this point, then okay, do a lot of soul searching. After baby number two, do a lot of soul searching. If you want to have more children, then maybe you don't want to do something permanent like tie your tubes, but you want to make sure that you secure a really, really good birth control method, or abstain. If you decide after baby number two that, well, if I get married, I might want to have another one. Well, okay, so you might not want to do something permanent like tie your tubes, but first of all, I'm gonna say abstain. The best thing you can do is abstain until you find a suitable marriage mate. If you don't abstain, make sure you secure a good solid birth control method to prevent pregnant baby number three. Because it's like this: if you're struggling with one or two children, it don't make no sense to have any more kids, particularly if you don't have a marriage mate, particularly if your finances is not in order. If your finances is not in order, then it doesn't even make any sense to bring forth another child, particularly if you're dependent on food stamps or any help from any type of governmental assistance. If you have to rely on any type of governmental assistance, well, that means if you're relying on governmental assistance, well, that means your income is extremely low. That means that you're poverty line. Because that's the only way that you can qualify for that stuff is if your income has got to be poverty level, poverty line. If you at the poverty line to the point to where you qualify for food stamps and all that, you are really not ready for another child. You're not ready to bring forth another child. So I highly recommend to first of all, I'm going to say abstain right off rip. If you don't want to do that, then you need to secure a solid birth control method. And nowadays, I know you young ladies have a lot of them out there. There's really no excuse. I said that in another video. There's really no excuse because I know there's a lot more out there when I was in my 20s and 30s. When I was in my 20s and 30s, there's a lot more stuff out there now. I think they got some type of patch you can put on. There's shots that you can do. All kinds of stuff that birth control pills. I know when I was taking birth control pills, they worked as long as I was taking them. It was when I stopped taking them is when I had the problem. um, yeah, that's when I got in trouble was when I stopped taking them. When I was taking them, I was fine. It worked perfectly well. Birth control pills worked perfectly fine for me when I was taking them. It was when I stopped taking them is when I got in trouble. So that's what you want to do. If you have to assess your situation. The smart thing to do is assess your situation. Look at your financial situation. Look at your mate situation. If you're not even dating someone and you don't have the prospects of securing a good, and notice I say a good marriage mate, not just a marriage mate, but a good marriage mate. If you don't have any prospects of securing a good solid marriage mate, or you taking a look at your finances and you seeing that you got to rely on food stamps, Section 8 and all that. I'm not saying those are bad things because what I've done videos where I say, hey, if people need the help, then go ahead and get it. Don't be ashamed to get the help if that's what you need. But if you find yourself on these programs, then you are at poverty line and you are in no position to have baby number baby number two or baby number three. If you're a single mother of one child or two children, then if you're on food stamps or any type of governmental assistance, then you are not ready to bring forth another child. You are not financially ready. And so, because that was, like I said, that was a determining factor for me. That was one of my determining factors after baby number two. Was like, okay, well, I'm struggling with, I'm gonna be struggling with these two. So it don't make no sense for me to have no another one. You know, and so like I've said in some of my other videos, poverty is like a deep pit. I like to use the analogy of a deep pit when I think of poverty. It's like trying to falling into a deep pit and trying to climb your way out of it. And every time you get like something, a little slide or whatever, knocks you back down. And that's how poverty is. It's like once you're in poverty, it's very, very difficult. It's like a deep pit. It's very difficult to get out of it. Very difficult to get out of poverty. People think it's easy. It's not easy. Well, I don't know, maybe rich people, but it's very, very difficult to get out of poverty. Poverty is a vicious cycle, and it's very, very difficult to get out of it. And the more children you have, the more difficult it's going to be for you to get out of it. So I've stated that in other videos. The more children you have, the more difficult it's going to be for you to get out of poverty. Unless you can get a job or start a business that you will be able to secure six figures. Good luck with that one. Okay, so that's my suggestion to women that have one, single mothers that have one or two children. Assess your situation. If your finances are not in order, if you haven't secured a good marriage mate, then it is not recommended you take every precaution necessary to prevent getting pregnant again. That is my recommendation. Okay? Lock it up. Lock it down. Best thing you can do. Or you're going to put yourself in a position to where you're going to be struggling even more. Particularly if you're pregnant by men that don't want to help you. If you're getting pregnant by men that don't want to be the fathers to the children and don't want to help you financially, or you don't hardly get anything financially, whatever the situation is, okay, that's enough right there, enough motivation for you right there to quit while you're ahead. Smarten up. That's what I told myself. Smarten up. Smarten up. Okay? That's what I want to say. Stay tuned. I got some more videos coming up. Current subscribers, I need you to start watching my videos more. Trying to get my numbers up there. New subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing. For anybody new watching my channel, please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. And I need everybody to hit that notification bell. I need everybody to hit the like button, and I need everybody to hit that notification bell so every time I do a video, you will be notified. So stay tuned. I got some more interesting video topics coming up. Peace and love. This is Sweet Jill.